Welcome back to our exclusive daily coverage of the Diddy federal court case. This is day 14, and while we're right in the heart of the courtroom drama, today's episode will take a step back. What exactly is Diddy accused of? What's the prosecution claiming? How has his legal team responded? And, if convicted, what kind of prison sentence could he face? Plus, just hours ago, Donald Trump made a controversial statement about Diddy. And for the first time in this series, we're talking politics. Diddy's long history with both Democrats and Republicans may be more important than we thought. So buckle up. This is more than a trial. It's a high-stakes collision of power, fame, justice, and secrets. Let's go straight to the core of this case. Sean Diddy Combs is currently on trial in federal court, and the charges against him are nothing short of explosive. The prosecution has updated the indictment 3 times since September 2024, and the latest version is 14 pages long, packed with serious allegations. At the center of it all, power, control, and a criminal network allegedly built behind the scenes of a billion-dollar entertainment empire. According to federal prosecutors, Diddy used violence, threats, coercion, and psychological control to protect his image, and to silence women who tried to expose his behavior. They say this wasn't about isolated incidents, but an organized system of abuse. They claim that Diddy operated a criminal enterprise, not unlike a mafia organization, under the structure of his companies and brand. The charges list a range of criminal activity that sounds like it's straight out of a crime thriller: human trafficking, forced labor, kidnapping, bribery, obstruction of justice, arson. And it doesn't stop there. There are 5 separate federal charges being prosecuted right now. First, racketeering conspiracy under the RICO Act. This means Diddy is accused of forming a corrupt organization to commit crimes, even if he didn't personally commit every act. The maximum penalty, life in prison. Second, sex trafficking by force, fraud, or coercion. He's accused of transporting women across state lines for sexual exploitation under manipulation or threats. The mandatory minimum sentence here is 15 years. The maximum, life. Transportation for the purpose of prostitution. This charge focuses on the interstate movement of individuals for sexual activity. The penalty? Up to 10 years in prison. So, let's do the math. If Diddy is found guilty on all charges, he could be sentenced to life in prison, with a minimum of 10 to 15 years, depending on the convictions. But Diddy and his legal team say this is all a complete fabrication. In their most recent statement back in April, they referred to the alleged victims as ex-girlfriends and described the relationships as consensual, adult, and private. They say these were intimate connections, not crimes. His defense argues that these women are misrepresenting consensual relationships and that Diddy is being targeted because of his fame, wealth, and influence. But the court isn't just examining his personal life, it's examining his entire business empire. The question is, did Diddy create a music label, or did he build a criminal organization disguised as one? And that's just the beginning. So, what does Diddy have to say about these serious allegations? In April, Diddy's legal team made their position clear. He denies all the charges. His attorneys argue that the people accusing him, many of whom are former romantic partners, were in consensual long-term relationships with him. They describe Diddy's private life as non-coerced and mutually consensual. In other words, they say this is not a criminal story, but a personal one. A story about private relationships that are now being distorted or reinterpreted in public. The defense also claims that many of the accusations are motivated by money or revenge, especially now that Diddy's facing civil lawsuits and media scrutiny at the same time. Despite this, the prosecution has painted a picture of Diddy as someone who used his power, wealth, and network to operate above the law. And that's the exact image the defense is working hard to break down. Still, let's not forget, Diddy has been denied bail multiple times, including an offer of $50 million. Why? Because the judge said he could potentially intimidate witnesses or obstruct justice. That brings us to a crucial figure in all of this, Judge Arun Subramanian. He's overseeing this high-profile case. Appointed by Joe Biden and confirmed in 2023, this is perhaps the biggest trial of his career so far. And he's already shown he's not easily swayed by wealth or status. Now, let's talk about the big headline that dropped yesterday. Donald Trump broke his silence on Diddy. In a recent interview, when asked whether he would consider pardoning Diddy, Trump responded, "Nobody's asked me, but I know people are thinking about it. I haven't been watching the case very closely, but it's certainly getting a lot of coverage. He used to like me a lot. I think once I got into politics, that relationship kind of fell apart. I haven't spoken to him in years, but I think he liked me back then. Let's unpack that for a moment. Trump doesn't confirm anything directly, but he doesn't rule out a pardon either, and that's what's making headlines. The idea that a former president and potential 2024 candidate might be open to pardoning someone accused of human trafficking, coercion, and organized crime, that's a bombshell. And it gets more complex when we look at their history. Back in the late 1990s and early 2000s, Trump and Diddy were frequently seen together at events. Trump attended Diddy's lavish 29th birthday party in 1998 and later called him a good guy and a hard worker. Diddy, in return, invited Trump to parties and praised him in public. But once Trump ran for office, that relationship began to unravel. By the 2020 election, Diddy was openly critical of Trump, saying his policies were harmful to Black communities and even endorsing Joe Biden. He also thanked Kamala Harris for her work during the COVID-19 pandemic in a public tweet, a tweet that's now resurfacing as people look at Diddy's political connections. What does this all mean? It means that Diddy's relationships span both Republicans and Democrats. He was close to Trump, but he also had ties to Biden, Harris, even Obama and Hillary Clinton. And now, in the middle of a federal trial, those political ties are being examined like never before. Some say it's strange that someone so politically connected is facing charges at all. Others say it's a sign that no one is above the law, not even someone with as much cultural and political reach as Diddy. One thing's for sure. If Trump continues to speak about the case or hints at a pardon, it could overshadow the judicial process or even influence public opinion. Now let's turn our attention to another major development: the rising role of Aubrey O'Day in this federal case. Aubrey is not just a former reality star. She was a founding member of Danity Kane, the girl group formed on Diddy's MTV show, Making the Band, in 2005. She rose to fame through Diddy's platform, but years later, she's become one of his most outspoken critics. According to Aubrey, her time under Diddy's management was traumatic. She claims Diddy body shamed her and other girls in the group regularly. He made humiliating remarks like, "Your body isn't good anymore. No one will want you. What happened to you? You've become ugly." He had complete control over their decisions, from what they wore to what they said. And she described the environment as emotionally abusive. Even more explosive are the claims of coercion. According to former group member Juanita D. Woods Woodgett, Diddy made unwanted advances toward Aubrey. When she refused, Aubrey allegedly confided in D. Woods about the incident that same night. Shortly after that, both Aubrey and D. Woods were fired from the group. Aubrey has also made serious accusations about money. She claims Danity Kane made $48 million in album sales, and none of the girls were paid. She says Diddy offered them copyright buybacks just to silence them, using non-disclosure agreements, NDAs. In 2023, Aubrey refused to sign an NDA and even warned other former members not to sign either. She said it wasn't just about music. It was about power, control, and abuse. Now here's why this matters. Aubrey O'Day is expected to testify as a prosecution witness. If she takes the stand, she could corroborate patterns of coercion, control, and emotional abuse, support claims of intimidation, which are central to the racketeering and trafficking charges, bring firsthand evidence of how Diddy allegedly used his power in the music industry to silence, manipulate, and exploit young women. This could be very powerful testimony, not just because of the details, but because Aubrey is a public figure who once benefited from Diddy's empire. For the jury, seeing someone who was once inside turn against him might carry significant emotional weight. Whether the court will view these allegations as criminal evidence or as a toxic professional relationship will depend on how the prosecution frames her story and how the defense challenges her credibility. While the courtroom drama unfolds, an unexpected twist came from a surprising figure: former President Donald Trump. Just recently, Trump was asked about Diddy's legal troubles during an interview with Aubrey O'Day, the singer and former member of Danity Kane, who is also set to testify in the trial. Here's what Trump said. "He's found himself in some very serious legal trouble. Yeah, true. Would you ever consider pardoning him?" Nobody's asked, but I know people are thinking about it. "I haven't been watching it closely, but I know it's getting a lot of coverage." Trump acknowledged that while he once had a friendship with Diddy, attending his high-profile parties back in the late 1990s and early 2000s, politics changed their relationship. "He used to really like me a lot, but I think when I ran for politics, that relationship busted up." It's different when you run for politics and you do what's right. This statement sparked a lot of conversation because Trump's name adds a new layer of political intrigue to the case. Historically, Diddy and Trump had a friendly relationship. Trump attended Diddy's 29th birthday party in 1998, described him as legendary, and even defended him publicly on The Apprentice. They appeared together at events such as the Art for Life Gala and a United Nations gathering with Melania Trump in 2008. But their friendship cooled off as Trump entered politics, and Diddy became openly critical of Trump's policies, especially concerning racial inequality and the impact on disadvantaged communities. Diddy later endorsed Joe Biden and publicly opposed Trump in the 2020 presidential election. On the flip side, Diddy's political connections don't end with Trump. During the 2020 campaign, Diddy was linked with Kamala Harris, who thanked him publicly on Twitter after he organized a meeting addressing racial inequality during the COVID-19 pandemic. Both Republicans and Democrats have tried to frame Diddy's alliances to their advantage, often pointing to his relationships with key political figures to sway public opinion. So the question arises, could Diddy's political ties influence the outcome of the trial? Pardoning someone with the serious allegations Diddy faces would be highly controversial, especially considering the public and legal gravity of sexual assault and human trafficking accusations. It's worth noting that Trump has pardoned several celebrities in the past, including reality stars and rappers. Speculation about a possible pardon for Diddy is inevitable. But at this moment, Trump is staying cautious, emphasizing trust in the U.S. judicial system, even if he hasn't followed the case closely. This complex political backdrop adds another dimension to the trial and raises important questions about fairness, influence, and justice. Another key figure stepping into the spotlight is Aubrey O'Day, a singer, reality TV star, and founding member of the girl group, Danity Kane, which was created by Diddy. Aubrey became well known in 2005 through MTV's reality show Making the Band and achieved success with hits like Showstopper and Damaged. However, the relationship between Aubrey and Diddy later soured dramatically. According to Aubrey's claims, Diddy exercised extreme control over the group and its members. Aubrey alleges that Diddy constantly meddled in the girls' weight and appearance, subjecting them to relentless body shaming and harsh criticism, with comments like, "Your body is not good anymore. No one will want you. What happened to you? You've become so ugly." Aubrey says these abuses were not just verbal, but part of a larger pattern of control, affecting the artist's mental health and freedom to make decisions. He describes how the girls were trapped in a traumatic environment, signing contracts that left them with little control or compensation, despite earning millions. He also claims he was fired by Diddy because he didn't meet expectations outside of his talent, implying the firing was tied to personal control rather than professional performance. In 2023, Aubrey reportedly signed a non-disclosure agreement, NDA, designed to prevent him from speaking negatively about Diddy or Bad Boy Records, but he refused and warned others in the group not to sign similar contracts. Aubrey criticized Diddy's later offers to return copyrights to the artists as a way to buy their silence for a nominal fee. Now, Aubrey is expected to testify as a prosecutor's witness in the ongoing trial. His testimony could provide critical insider insight into the environment Diddy allegedly maintained, an environment prosecutors describe as a criminal organization exploiting and abusing people connected to Diddy's business empire. This testimony could be a pivotal moment in the case, potentially swaying the jury by revealing firsthand accounts of alleged abuse, control, and exploitation within Diddy's circle. While we've been deeply focused on the courtroom drama, an important dimension of this case is Diddy's political ties, connections we haven't discussed in detail until now. Recently, former President Donald Trump made a public statement about Diddy that caught a lot of attention. Trump acknowledged Diddy's legal troubles, but stopped short of making any concrete commitment, saying things like, "Would you ever consider pardoning him? Nobody's asked, but I know people are thinking about it." He also noted that while he's not following the trial closely, the case is getting significant media coverage. Trump mentioned that his relationship with Diddy changed when he entered politics, and that political ambitions can change people. This statement is significant because it shows how intertwined Diddy's personal and political connections are, especially with prominent figures like Trump. Looking back, Diddy and Trump had a close social relationship in the late 1990s and early 2000s. They attended each other's events, and Trump even described Diddy as legendary and a good person and friend in various interviews. Trump also defended Diddy on The Apprentice, praising his work ethic. However, as Trump's political profile grew, their relationship cooled, especially after Trump became a polarizing figure. Meanwhile, Democrats have tried to highlight connections between Diddy and their side, noting Diddy's support for Joe Biden and his ties to Kamala Harris. For example, during the 2020 presidential campaign, Diddy organized a meeting on racial inequality during the COVID-19 pandemic that Kamala Harris publicly thanked him for on Twitter. These political ties on both sides, Republican and Democrat, make the trial even more complex and politically charged. If Diddy were to be pardoned, especially by someone like Trump, it would be an extremely controversial move given the serious nature of the allegations. Trump's history of pardoning celebrities and controversial figures during his terms adds another layer of complexity to this story. So, what does this all mean for the trial? Will Trump's statement influence the judicial process? Could Diddy's political connections sway opinions behind the scenes? These are critical questions as we watch the case unfold.